Put you in the screen. You panning around.
You can get through stuff.
All right, welcome to the living room once again, where real conversations take place. It's your boy, it's the Bishop, and I'm back for another episode. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, if it's something that you like, that you hear that you like, just press that like button. If it's something that you love, you see that big old heart, go ahead and press it. Most of all, we want you to chat along with us. If it's something that any questions or comments that you have, make sure that you go ahead and talk it up with us. Tonight we have a special program. I am here live. The living room is on the road. We are here at the Severna Park Library because we have a special program. It's the Lynching Memorial Marker is having a new birthplace. And I am here with Connecting the Dots along in conjunction with EJI, who orchestrated and put this together for the marker that's behind us right here. And it's veiled right now, but by the end of the program, it's going to be unveiled so that you can see because, well, I'm not going to tell you. They can tell you a whole lot better. We have Miss Monica Lindsay, who's going to share with you momentarily because we got to get and run to the actual program that we're going to have. But Monica is going to share with you a little bit about the marker. Go ahead, Sister Monica.
All right. Hi, everybody. This is Monica Lindsay. I'm the co-chair of Connecting the Dots, and this is my partner and sister, Jennifer Haber, who is co-chairing with me for Connecting the Dots as well. And we are just so honored and pleased to be able to help get this marker a new home. In 2019, we placed this very same marker on Calvert Street, right across from the county exec's office, who's over here in the background, and we had a beautiful ceremony on that day. Unfortunately, a bus hit the marker and we couldn't put it back on its original pole. So we were blessed in the fact that we ended up with two markers because we did put the marker back on Calvert Street, but then we still had this one, which was in pristine condition other than the minor damage it suffered. So we are happy to give this new marker a new home today, and hopefully if you have an opportunity, you'll come on down to Severna Park Library and check it out at some point if you weren't able to join us today.
And and the marker is so essential because it's all about history, and we're unearthing, if you will, things that actually had transpired here in Anne Arundel County. There may be things in your county, in your state, wherever you may be watching from, that you may have history, and it's nothing like having a marker that will pretty much solidify the deal. Now, this wouldn't have taken place for us to be able to have this wonderful home or to have a marker here in our county had it not been for our county executive who partnered with us and thought that this was a great idea. So I'm going to have him come in and just share from his heart what he feels about what's going on right now. Here it is, our county executive, Stuart Pittman. All right. Good to see you again.
Thank you for doing this. I'm looking forward to opening this thing up. We are right here at the entrance to Severna Park Library. Thousands of people walk by here, and you can't miss it. You can't miss this when it's unveiled. And it's going to tell people about the 5 lynchings that we know about that took place in Anne Arundel County. And people will have to confront that history as they walk through. And it'll say different things to different people, and we want people to think about that history, learn from that history, and that's what we're going to do when we go over here and we're going to give a dedication, right?
Absolutely.
And according to my watch, it's exactly 6:30.
We gotta go.
See, we're always on time in the living room, right? So we're going to walk over here, and we're going to begin, and just in about 1 minute, we're going to begin the actual dedication service. We have a lineup for our program. We have, of course, my mentor for activism, Mr. Carl Snowden, is on the program. Again, our county executive is on the program, and Good Beginnings is on the program. We have the great Reverend James, the Bishop from Asbury Town. That he's going to give the invocation. Man, we're excited. People are already crowding around, and so stay tuned as we're lining up here. The living room is in action. We are not just. We decided to get out of the living room. I guess we can call it the backyard today. I don't know, but people are excited about the unveiling of the lynching memorial. There have been at least 5 lynchings that were recorded here in our county, and this marker has recorded the lynchings, the history of what has taken place here, and so our cameraman is going to just pan around and show you all of the people who are excited to come out to be with us here, and just take a look at that. That's why we had to come out. The living room, we had to come out and be a part of this special event. Last week we had the caucus of African American leaders with Carl Snowden and others, which is a great leadership of African Americans here in our county, and just teaming up again with connecting the dots, as you just heard from Monica Lindsay, and so tonight we teamed up. Stay tuned with us. Don't go anywhere, because you're going to get the actual program. Person by person is going to come up and share with you about the memorial, the lynching memorial, the marker, why it's here, and what we plan to do next. And then we're going to walk right back to the marker and unveil it so you can see it for your own self. You'll be able to see what we're doing here in Anne Arundel County. And we just want to do something great like this so that even in your county or in your state, wherever you may be watching, that the same historical events and things could be documented where you're at. So now they're starting the program, and we're going to have it right here live on the living room where real conversations take place.
At least 40 of those happened in the state of Maryland between 1854 and 1933. And of those, there are 5 known victims of racial terror lynching in Anne Arundel County. This ceremony is a rededication. The marker we dedicate today recognizes those 5 known victims. And today, it will have a new home here at the Severna Park Library, due to the hard work and dedication of an extraordinary group of people. A special thanks goes to the Anne Arundel County Public Library System, and particularly Skip Auld. Also, again, many thanks to our partners at the Equal Justice Initiative, especially our brother, Elliot Spillers. And Will Schwartz from the Maryland Lynching Memorial Project. We must also thank our co-sponsors, Anne Arundel County Grant of the NAACP, . the Caucus of African American Leaders, March on Maryland, Rise Maryland, Big Trouble Maryland, Annapolis Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. One Pasadena, Action Annapolis, South County in Time, Showing Up for Racial Justice, Annapolis and Anne Arundel County, Surge 3A, Maryland Lynching Memorial Project, Community Actively Seeking Transparency for CAST, the UBC, and the Living Room. And of course, the amazingly persistent and incredible team at Connecting the Dots. They make up a resilient group of people, truly grounded in acting on the message shared by Brian Stevenson. And I quote, "We cannot understand our present moment without recognizing the lasting damage caused by allowing white supremacy and racial hierarchy to prevail during Reconstruction." A very special debt of gratitude goes to Alan Kushner, our lead engineer, designer, and caretaker of the memorial, and Renee Cantori, our very organized organizer. Along with Emma Buckman, Jen Haber, James and Lee Zanger, Veronica Williams, and so many more. December 21st, 1906. November 26th, 1884. October 6th, 1898. December 25th, 1911. June 7th, 1875. These dates are a stain on the history of Anne Arundel County. They denote dates which county residents gathered as assemblies to commit violent, murderous atrocities against other county residents. At the root of this was racism. The roll call of the known victims is tremendous and incomplete, as there are many unknowns. However, we do Frisco, Wright Smith, King Johnson, and John Sims. Today, we gather here as an assembly that recognizes these atrocities and is committed to the remembering and reconciliation of these past events and the impact on our present. Your presence here as part of this historic moment in Anne Arundel County is so important on this path. There can be no reconciliation and healing without remembering the past. And today we will do just that on this journey to reconciliation and healing. And I'm very pleased and honored to introduce our next speaker who will give the invocation, Reverend James A. Bishop, Asbury Town Neck United Methodist Church. Thank you all for being here this evening.
Let us pray. Oh God, as we stand and sit before you and feel the heat and sense the brightness of the sun above us, we are reminded that you have created all of us alike, that there is more of us that is alike than that which makes us different. We thank you, God. We humble ourselves before you as we stand here. We thank you for this moment. We thank you for connecting the dots and for the work that they do, which will help us to see the beauty in diversity as you see it, oh God. And we give you thanks. We invoke your presence among us as we stand together and celebrate, and as we recognize the harm that we do to one another. And we ask you, God, to continue to lead us and direct us through other organizations like Connecting the Dots until we become the people that you have made and loved. And if you will hear this prayer, we will be ever so careful to give you all the praise and all the honor and all the glory that already belongs to you. Hear our prayer as we pray through a variety of faiths here that give us meaning. Amen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emma Buckman, and I am the Deputy Director of March on Maryland and a member of Connecting the Dots. I'll just be introducing the rest of our wonderful speakers this evening. Up next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Skip Auld, the CEO of the Anne Arundel County Public Library.
Thank you so much. Connecting the dots and all of the affiliated organizations and all of these partner groups. I would like to start just by recognizing the elected officials who I have seen here. I saw one of our former library trustees, Nathan Volke. He's county councilman back here. The council member from this district, Amanda Fiedler, is right back here. Delegate Dana Jones is over here. And County Executive Pittman will get his formal introduction here in a moment. I also would like to introduce a few of our staff members. I'm not sure I know everybody who is here, but we have, among other things, a library equity, diversity, and inclusion team. We call it LEDIT, L-E-D-I-T. And Darnice Jasper is the manager of the Maryland City Library, she was somewhere here. And then Kathy Hollerback, there's Darnice back here. Kathy Hollerback is also one of the leaders of that committee. That was my son, sorry. Kathy Hollerback is our Chief of Public Services and Branch Management. Christine Feldman is our Director of Marketing and Communications. Morgan Binnix is a librarian at our Edgewater Library. Amanda Spino is a librarian at our Glen Burnie Library, and I probably have left out some of our staff. But with that, Renee has given me 3 minutes. Oh, thank you. Yes, and I spoke with earlier today, Clerk of Court, Scott Hoyer. So Scott, where are you? I know you're here. There, yes. Thank you. Okay. So I have my 3 minutes from Renee, which you can start the clock now. Hello, friends. We hope the marker we unveil today will inspire generations of people, young and old, to learn about history, racism, and the issues of today that are rooted deeply and firmly in our past. Anne Arundel County Public Library is an educational institution. We foster an environment where learning is cherished, where everyone is welcome, and where facts, truth, and knowledge are freely available. In October 2017, our Board of Trustees adopted a statement on race and social equity, which reads in part, "We are committed to achieving racial and social equity by contributing to a more just society in which all community members can realize their full potential. We are working to achieve equity by serving as a convener and facilitator of conversations and partnerships to address community challenges, and by being forthright on tough issues that are important to our communities." The marker is here at Severna Park Library because it's central in Anne Arundel County and is one of our busier libraries. The 5 lynchings in our county took place from Brooklyn to Annapolis, with one about 3.5 miles from here at Magathie River Bridge. This lynching was covered by the Baltimore Sun and the Evening Capital on November 29, 1884. The Capital article begins with this sentence. So place yourself back at that time picking up your morning newspaper. And there had been an article about it a couple of days before about him being jailed. The lynching of George Briscoe, colored, in the 3rd District on Wednesday morning last by a party of masked men may be condemned by some. Yet under all the circumstances, it was perhaps the only way to rid a community of so desperate a character as this Negro had proved himself to be. As horrible as this account was, it was apparently typical of the times. The Anne Arundel County Public Library is 100% committed to being an anti-racist organization. For example, all staff are receiving training on dismantling institutional racism. We're planning for an equity audit of our entire, thank you. We are planning for an equity audit of our entire organization, and we have a passionate committee of staff called the Library Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Team. 2 members, oh, okay, I've already told about those members, okay. All the books listed in your program here are available from your library system. Most are in print, some are ebooks, and 2 are available through interlibrary loan from academic libraries. Thank you for being here and for being part of the community seeking racial and social justice.
Thank you so much, Skip. Up next, I would like to bring up Mr. Elliot Spillers, a project manager at the Equal Justice Initiative, who has come up all the way from Alabama to be with us here today.
Good afternoon. My name is Elliot Spillers, and I'm a project manager at EJI. And I wanted to start off today with a moment of silence. I think that silence for too long is what has facilitated the erasure of George Briscoe, Wright Smith, Henry Davis, King Johnson, and John Sims in the memory of Anne Arundel County. Today, we gather here together communally after a year and some change of not having been able to do so, with the intention of drawing attention to remembering and recognizing and atoning for the legacy of racial terror violence that has happened here in the community of Anne Arundel County. EJI is a nonprofit human rights law office working out of Montgomery, Alabama, to represent the poor, the incarcerated, and the condemned in our society. EJI believes that slavery did not end in 1865, but rather it has evolved into a continuing legacy that burdens Black and Brown communities and people today. The time period that we are reflecting on today, the era of racial terror, lynching, and violence, is situated in an entire historical legacy of racial injustice that began with the genocide of Native people here on American soil before the era of enslavement. It was through that act of injustice, that act of terror, that this narrative of racial difference was created, that then evolved to then legitimize chattel slavery happening here in America. From that lens, we then move into this time period of Reconstruction in America, which was the first opportunity that we had as a nation to re-enfranchising and accepting and recognizing the humanity of Black people in this country. During that time period between 1865 to 1876, EJI documents that at least 2,000 Black people were lynched in communities in communities in the South, but primarily in the Deep South, but also in states outside the South as well. These lynchings happened in states and in jurisdictions where there were functioning courts, functioning legal organizations and institutions that did not work to defend Black people in their community at the time. It was from that time period that we then move into this era of racial terror, lynching, and violence that we document having happened between 1876 and 1950. During that time period, we document at least 4,000 more Black people were killed in America, in states inside the South. But then we document an additional 400 plus Black people were lynched in states outside the South as well, in states like California, Nebraska, and even New York. These were not isolated events or experiences, but rather these were communal events that were public in nature and were meant to send an entire message to the broader Black community that any challenge to the racial hierarchy could end in death and could end in lynching. It is this context that we have to situate our contemporary crisis of mass incarceration in today. When we look at the narratives of racial difference, the presumptions of guilt and dangerousness assigned to Black people today who are killed by police, it's important to recognize that this racial bias must be understood through the context and through the lens of our history. Today, we recognize 5 men who were killed for no other reason than because of the fact that they were Black. When we examine the era and the legacy of lynchings in America, it's important to recognize that lynchings were racially motivated acts of violence against not only the Black individuals who were lynched, but the entire Black community as a whole. It is because of this history and this context that we then see the exodus of Black people from the South to states in the Midwest and even to the Northeast, not in search for economic opportunities, but because they were refugees from terror. EJI's Community Remembrance Project insists that we must collectively go through the process of truth before we can get to the necessary component of repair and reconciliation that then allows us to achieve true justice. Not just justice, but true justice. A justice that is recognized through this lens of violence and that is not continued in different forms or in different iterations of injustice today. It's very fitting that this marker that we're rededicating to the community of Anne Arundel County is installed here at the Anne Arundel Public Library, who I'd like to thank for their dedication to anti-racist work, but also to ensuring that the community of Anne Arundel is educated about their history and that they are given the right tools to build a community that is free of racial injustice. Today, we have launched the Racial Justice Essay Contest for high school students in grades 9 through 12 in Anne Arundel County. My hope is that these students and all of you here today will encourage students and teachers to come to the library and to search out and go to those other institutions in the community to connect even deeper with this history. Attorney Stevenson says that in order for us to eradicate and reckon with this history of racial terror violence, it's important for us to become proximate to the history as well, to get proximate to the legacy of terror and violence that the earth remembers. When we work with communities, we collect soil in areas where we've documented lynchings to have happened. And in that soil, which we believe is protecting the spirit of those who have been lost to this violence, we memorialize those jars of soil in our Legacy Museum in Montgomery, Alabama. In 2018, we opened up the Legacy Museum from Enslavement to Mass Incarceration and the National Memorial for Peace and Justice with the intention of not just allowing people to understand this history of racial terror and violence, but rather to connect introspectively with this history, to examine how it not only applies to their community, but how it also has informed their lived experiences and reality. In order for us to do this work, to eradicate racial injustice, it's important first and foremost for us to be self-aware of how we have been forced to live in a racialized society and how our identities inform our interactions with the people that we meet today. I think that more than anything, COVID has amplified that reality for me. I think that there are other people who have been forced to have to examine their own histories of injustice as well. When I talked to Monica about our ancestry DNA results and tests, we kid about the fact that we're cousins. Because both of us descend from Nigeria and the Benin Congo, but in reality, there are so many connections to the past and also to our global community that has not yet been felt and realized. That I think that what Anne Arundel County and Connecting the Dots is allowing to happen here is really beginning the genesis of, I think, something that can be tapped into and recognized in states outside of Maryland. Our partners in Nebraska, as well as others, consistently talk about Maryland and the work that's happening here in Hartford County and Montgomery County and St. Mary's County. And it's truly incredible to have been able to partner with you all for so long to document and memorialize this history in meaningful ways. I look forward to all the work that's forthcoming in Anne Arundel County and welcome you all to connect with our team as well as Monica and Connecting the Dots and Good Trouble, Anne Arundel County as well, to eradicate this history and remember it honestly and justly. Thank you.
There are a couple of other elected officials that have been here with us today that I wanted to acknowledge. We have Delegate Heather Bagnall, Councilwoman Lisa Rodbian, Dana Schalheim, Vice President of the Board of Education in County, Drake Smith, the student member of the Board of Education, and Bunmi Omasore, for future student member of the Board of Education. And up next, I would now like to introduce the convener of the Caucus of African American Leaders, our local historian, Mr. Carl Snowden.
To the clergy, elected officials, to the activists, to the people who've gathered here on what's really a solemn occasion. There was a song that was sang by Billie Holiday called Strange Fruits. That song was designed to capture a moment, to remind people of those men and women who were swinging from those southern trees. Those who are old enough to remember that song, remember how sad it was, capture that moment. Something happened in our generation, and something happened to this generation that I don't want us to forget. Monica has a way of saying connecting the dots. Make sure that people understand that history doesn't begin knowing, it's continuing. Just be with me for a moment. It's December, it's the 21st, it's 4 days before Christmas. And a man is lynched in Annapolis. Near what we now call the Arundel Center was a jail. Henry Davis is taken out and lynched. 95 years after his lynching, the world had forgotten all about Henry Davis. It took others to remind him, to remind the world that he lived. He had hopes, he had dreams, he had aspirations, but he was murdered. We have a tendency in history to want to forget the things about history even today. Few people know that Annapolis is named after Queen Anne. Queen Anne's father was the Duke of York, and there were slave trades. There was human traffickers, took human beings, sold them. But something else has happened. It's part of that generation that Drake is part of. It's a part of the generation that have seen something horrible. Connect the links, connect the dots. The year now is 2020. It's May 2020. The world's watching a modern day lynching. They watched a man named George Floyd. 9 minutes and 36 seconds. Watch his life leave his body. It created a new movement. Young people all over the nation and the world said we are better people than this. People marched in Pasadena, they marched in Dale, they marched in Severna Park, they marched in Annapolis, several. That's not the world they wanted. 9 minutes, 36 seconds. It's been a year since the death of George Floyd. What are the lessons we have learned? It's been 95 years plus since the death of Henry Davis. What is the lessons? I hope as we rededicate this particular memorial, this sign, that these persons who have gathered here today will take it upon themselves to teach the true history of our nation. To understand, as Dr. King said, that justice and peace is not the absence of war. It's men and women finding that beloved community. I conclude my remarks with this. Elliot, thank you for being part of a movement to help restore the conscience of America. Thank the NAACP, the oldest civil rights organization in the world. Thank the United Black Clergy that's also present, March on Maryland, all of the great organizations. But the thing I want to leave you with, our work is not done. Right. The putting up of this, rededicating of this memorial should underscore the fact that we have more work to be done. My generation, Malcolm X assassinated, Martin Luther King assassinated, Bobby Kennedy assassinated, John Kennedy assassinated, Medgar Evers assassinated. That was my generation. Generation of the day, see mass murders. It comes so freaking so much that people even forget who died. Let us remember that in order for us to reconcile, we have to face truth. And that truth is that we need leaders, men and women who have vision, who will make America better. I'm just so happy that we have a county executive who understands the importance of what we do. He's the only county executive in the history of Anne Arundel County. It's only been 11, and I knew them all. He's been willing to tell the truth. God bless. And there's a word I want to leave you with. It's a Swahili word. You should come to the library and learn something new. For those who do not know this word, it is what every single person who died fighting for justice uttered in their own language. The word is Uhuru, 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 which simply means freedom. God bless.
Thank you so much, Carl. And next up, I would like to introduce the man that was just mentioned in Mr. Snowden's speech, Anne Arundel County Executive Stuart Pittman.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. I think I told somebody earlier today that probably would be many people here tonight. We already did this memorial installation a year and a half ago, and there were a lot of people there. But this is Suburban Park, and it's just rededicating, the old one in front of the library. And I just didn't think a whole lot of people would be. There are. There's only about 20 chairs, but there's well over 100 people. I don't know how many people are. But thank you for coming. That tells us something. That tells us something important. Because I got to admit that I'm a little bit tired. If I look back on September 2019, when the sign was first installed outside the Arundel Center, I don't know if it's been explained yet, but it was hit by a bus and all of that. And now we got a new sign there. And now this sign is here and it's still in pretty good shape. And everybody walks in this library is going to see it every time they walk in and walk out. And that's going to make a lot of people think, and that's going to be a wonderful thing. But when I look back on 2019, and when we installed that sign, and now we're installing that sign again, I got to ask myself the question whether we made any progress, since then. And I think we have, but I'm glad to see that all these people here think that we have more work to do, or you wouldn't be here. So, in Anne Arundel County, thank you. We are continuing to do the work because I don't believe that in this county, or really any jurisdiction in this country, can we really, really, truly move forward without equity, without justice, without understanding our history, without teaching our kids the history and fixing the stuff that we screwed up in the past. And we're not going to stop doing that. I mean, I got to say, we're getting some blowback right now. I've gotten some emails saying, "What are you doing? You're teaching critical race theory," whatever that is. why aren't you talking about this, that, and the other? Why are you spending so much time talking about that? We even had an amendment introduced in our budget process to ban any county money being spent to teach critical race theory, whatever that is. Fortunately, the amendment failed, but there's a narrative out there. And the narrative is trying to tell the government not to let people look at their own history and be critical of the stuff we screwed up in the past. So we're just going to keep on doing it anyway. So on Saturday, we held a memorial event at People's Park, across from the Arundel Center, recognizing the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Massacre. We called it Black Wall Street. Today, long day. Today we had our weekly press briefing and I introduced a new person onto our staff, first new position, equity, diversity and inclusion officer. His name is Pete Hill. He's starting next week and you'll love him. He lives in Glen Burnie. This afternoon, I was in Freetown. And we were dedicating a historical plaque. We were actually dedicating 2 historical plaques, telling the story of Freetown and Pumphrey. Freetown and Pumphrey are both communities that were started by free black men who bought land, brought their friends in, passed that land on from one generation to the next, managed to accumulate the wealth that gets accumulated when there is transfer of land and wealth from one generation to the next. We call it intergenerational wealth building, as opposed to intergenerational poverty. And we celebrated those 2 communities. We're celebrating more communities all over Anne Arundel counties with historical markers so that people will know the history and people will read about it. This one was at a park. Kids will see it. On Friday, anybody here work for Anne Arundel County? Come on. It's a day off on Friday. You know why? Because for the first time in history, Juneteenth is a holiday for county employees. And we hope that means that people will take a little bit of time to think about what Juneteenth means and learn a little bit about it. So I was talking to Monica right before this. We started the video out by the with Bishop Palmer out by the new sign going up, and she said to me, "Why does the human race, humanity, just keep getting in the way of itself or something?" Now, those might not have been your exact words, but I was complaining to her about this council resolution on the critical race theory, and she just rolled her eyes and said, "Why do we just keep doing it?" And it wasn't anger that Monica expressed at one side or the other or anybody who got it wrong. It's why can't we just figure out we all want the same damn thing at the end of the day, right? We all want the same thing. And so this kind of education, I believe, one thing we can all agree on, right? We don't believe in lynchings. We don't think they're a good thing. Well, let's start there. If that's all we agree on. Let's talk about how they happened, how we got where we are. So we still do have a lot of really hard work to do. I think we're making progress. I think the fact that you all are still out here ready to fight the fight means that we're going to continue to make progress. After this event, I know that there's another event coming to the table. And that's hard work. That's really hard work. In fact, my sister, 2 of my sisters, have been trying to talk me into participating and coming to the table. Where descendants of slave owners and descendants of slaves sit down and talk to each other and have really hard conversations. So that's happening tonight. I'll be there. I hope some of you will be there because we still got work to do. And I'm just so damn glad that in this county we've got so many great organizations and new one. I love the Good Trouble t-shirts. I need one. But we have so many great people organizing to make this county the best place. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pittman. Up next, he's so tall. Up next, I would like to introduce Josie Dial and Jaden Robinson, both members of Good Trouble Maryland, for a special presentation. And it's breathtaking. I just have to say that. It's breathtaking. Welcome up.
I would just like to thank Connecting the Dots to inviting the trouble. My name is Josie Dial. And we have Morgan Johnson, Mimi Whalen, and Austin Lott. 1500 when colonization started. Families were trafficked to America, Europe, and Africa, getting to Extopia. 1619, slavery has officially begun. Rape, torture, humiliation, the beatings and killing, family separation. Maybe that's just my mood. Did not rise to the bed. 1854, that's when the lynchings begin. It's like we're in a whole new inning trying to win. It's mass destruction, all these abductions, and an obstruction of justice. 1865, slavery has finally ended. But we know that ain't true. Jim Crow takes its place. 1865, it's the rise of the KKK. Let us pray. The fear for our life doesn't continue. 1968, mass lynching ends, but lynching still extends. What is this trend? 43 Black Americans lynch where we stand today. If you don't believe me, just listen here. David Thomas, Jim Wilson, James Pippin, Isaac Moore, Jim Quinn, Thomas Jurek, John Jones, John Henry, John Sims, Michael Green, and an unknown black man from Harford County.
James Carroll, George W. Peck, Gage Wallace, John Biggs, George Briscoe, Nicholas Snowden, Townsend Cook, Howard Cooper, Charles Whitley, David Johnson, and Benjamin Hance.
Wright Smith, Lewis Harris, Ed Watson, Henry Davis, James Reed, William Burns, William Ramsey, King Johnson, Matthew Williams, an unknown black man in Salisbury, George Armwood.
John H. Biggis, Joseph Vermillion, Ashbury Green, James Taylor, Isaac Kemp, Stephen Williams, James Bowen, Jacob Henson, Sidney Randolph.
These are the known and named black men that were lynched, but there are many more.
Thank you so much for that, guys. At this point, I'd like to invite Mr. Drake Smith, student member of the Anne Arundel County Board of Education and a graduate of Meade High School, up with me, please. Woo!
Good evening, everyone. As the program says, my name is Drake Smith. I'm the student member of the Anne Arundel County Board of Education, and as of last Monday, graduate of Meade High School. I'm proud to be able to stand here today and be a part of this rededication ceremony. We, as a community, are now once again confronting our past. Now in two places in our county, we're remembering the injustice brought upon John Sims in 1875, George Briscoe in 1884, Wright Smith in 1898, Henry Davis in 1906, King Johnson in 1911. Like most students, I thought that lynchings only happened in the deep South. Places like Money, Mississippi, where Emmett Till was killed. Places like Philadelphia, Mississippi, where 3 civil rights workers were killed. Places like Waco, Texas, where Jesse Washington was lynched in front of a crowd of 10,000 people and set on fire. Never did I learn, nor could I imagine that there was lynching right down the road from me in Annapolis. From what I learned in school, Maryland was supposed to be a happy and safe place for blacks. But once you do your own research, you realize that Maryland is no better than any other place in the South. Now, there may be those that wonder why. Why put a marker to remember something so terrible that happened over 100 years ago? Why in this community? If there's already one in Annapolis, why do we need 2 in the county? And the answer to the why is that we do not do it because we want to dwell in the past, but we want to make sure that the past is not repeated. These lynchings will forever be a stain on our community, and the only way to try and right the wrong is to prevent it from happening again. These 5 men were deprived from their right to a fair trial. They were instead found guilty and sentenced to death on the basis of their skin color alone. This should make everyone in this county angry. This should make everyone in this county reflect. This should make everyone in this county want to do better. And this second marker is just another step in that process. This marker will continue to teach future generations just how far we come, but remind us just how easily we can go back. These won't be easy conversations, but the necessary ones never are. I've made it my goal as member of the Board of Education to highlight local Black history in our schools, and I know that my successor, Bumio Misore, has made that her goal as well. So the work shall continue. The school system is actively working to make sure that the unfiltered, uncensored version of local and national history is taught in our schools, but not in a way that makes one race feel inferior, not in a way that makes someone hate their country, but in a way that brings us closer together, like this marker did today. Speaking of education, I now want to bring Emma back to the stage, who will give you some exciting information on some educational opportunities for our students. Thank you.
Woo! So, thank you so much, Drake. And part of the reason we wanted Drake to present this with us is because we tried to do this initiative before, and then, of course, COVID got in the way. In accordance with the spirit that Drake was referencing of continuing our history, continuing the education, especially among our youth, Connecting the Dots, as Elliot was mentioning earlier, is thrilled to announce that the soil collection ceremony for King Johnson, who was one of the recorded lynching victims in Maryland, will be taking place this year in December of 2021. The exact date is to be determined, but it will be happening. And to accompany it, just like a few years ago with the initial dedication of the marker, there will be an essay contest that's open to all 9th through 12th graders in Anne Arundel County to participate in. It is a scholarship contest of prizes of at least $5,000 distributed across. Just a little bit of information. Students are asked to examine the history of the topic of racial injustice and to discuss its legacy today. Essays should explain the chosen topic using a specific historical event or events, explore how the injustice persists, and imagine solutions for a future free from racial injustice. Students are encouraged to reflect on how the topic impacts their own lives and communities. So this will be open starting now. You can find out more by going to the website, or you can always come back to me after the program. I'll be here for probably forever. And it should be, we don't have the exact deadline yet, but it'll be sometime in November, so you have plenty of time. November 1st is what my boss just told me. So November 1st is when it closes, so you have plenty of time to work. And so we hope that a lot of you will take this opportunity. Whoever wins, the winners will be able to present their essays at the King Johnson Soil Collection Ceremony in December. So we hope you take advantage of that. And thank you, Jake. Woo! And now I know I've been up here for a while, so I'm about to leave you by introducing our final speaker, Jennifer Haber, co-chair of Connecting the Dots and for Anne Arundel County, with some closing remarks.
All right. I'm back here again. It's the Bishop. It's your boy. Listen, we've had an entire program dealing with the lynching memorial marker that details out the 5 particular lynchings that were that took place here in Anne Arundel County. There were several lynchings that are right here in this bulletin, Remembrance and Reconciliation. That's what we're here to memorialize those who have been lynched here in Maryland. Good information that's here. Uh, we had a dynamic program, and in just a few minutes, they're going to be walking here to be able to unveil the marker, the lynching memorial marker, here at Severna Park Library. And but I came here just to get before the crowd so that we can see the unveiling of the marker. So again, you heard from Carl Snowden. You heard from one of our young leaders, Drake Smith, and who's doing an incredible job on the Board of Education. He's a student member, and he's off going to Lincoln University as well. So you heard from him some of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing. Is not to dwell on the past, but to make sure that we don't repeat the past. And so we're right here now. Just momentarily, we're going to be unveiling the lynching memorial marker, because many people think that it was in the Deep South, but it was all over the United States where lynching took place. There was over 4,000 recorded lynchings, and then just lately, here this year, they recorded 2,000 more. So it's over 6,000 lynchings that had taken place here in the United States of America, and we cannot forget it. And so that's why we have events like this to be able to memorialize lynching. So we're here at the Lynching Memorial Marker that's about to be unveiled momentarily. The program is towards the end of the program. Once the committee walks over here to unveil it, then there's going to be a singing. You know the old song "Lean on Me." There's going to be song. I'm not going to sing it. I can rap it. Like Big Daddy Kane used to rap "Lean on Me" and all that stuff. But that's back in the '80s. Now, but we have the unveiling of the lynching memorial marker that's here at Severna Park Library. You heard from our county executive, and you heard him. He just came shot straight from the heart. We've got work to do. You saw the crowd that was out here. That's an indicator that there are a lot of people. You probably saw a lot of people that were not of my complexion that was here today. I believe that good allies like themselves are starting to see that we cannot live in a racist society any longer, and we have to unite to get something done here. On tomorrow, as I'm making an announcement while we're waiting on the unveiling of the um, lynching memorial marker, tomorrow we're having a protest right on the state's capitol. We're having a press conference because we had um, the police officers there in Ocean City who had committed police misconduct and the use of excessive use of force on a young black teenager. So we're standing up and we're calling for accountability. That's tomorrow. You should join us at 2:00 p.m. on tomorrow, right on the state's capitol, right at the Lawyers Mall. We're going to be there. NAACP, Caucus of African American Leaders, United Black Clergy of Anne Arundel County, and a score of other civic organizations, along with clergy, is going to be there, and we're going to be speaking concerning the call for police accountability. There have been laws that have been put in place. I believe they even are enacted on July the 1st. We're going to see that there's a test of these laws to see the power of these laws for justice. So I think that they're about to get ready to come here to unveil the marker that's right behind me. That's the lynching memorial marker dedicated for the 5 people who were lynched here in Anne Arundel County. Let me just read the names of those 5 to you that were lynched right here. John Sims, George Briscoe, Wright Smith, Henry Davis, and King Johnson. All 5 here in Anne Arundel County were lynched. And so we cannot forget what took place here in our county. And we're going to do something, and we're going to do something better. And we're looking to annihilate this. Now, lynching have taken on a modern form. We saw it with George Floyd. In 2019, however, right here in Anne Arundel County, there was a young man that was the police officers put their knee on his neck. Officer Daniel Reynolds, who put his knee on the young black man whose name was Daniel Geralds. Well, we're looking for justice for Daniel Geralds. And so we are protesting and having our public press conference concerning justice for him as well. So we got a lot that's going on because we have a lot of activists and advocates who are here in our county who are working alongside with those delegates and senators who want to see change take place in our county and in our state. So I believe that they're still talking and we're trying to get them. So we're going to be right back in probably about 2 or 3 minutes. And so we're going to take just a little short break and we're going to come back in 2 minutes and 2 seconds. All right. Be right here on the living room. This is the first time you see something like this, and you're seeing it on the living room where real conversations take place. What is happening now is a real thing. It is a real thing happening. We are dedicating the lynching memorial marker right here at Severna Park Library. Many of you may not understand or know. The reason why I keep rehearsing this in your hearing is because Severna Park is a predominantly white neighborhood. Oh my God, what's going on? Somebody's singing Lean on Me already. So, my goodness. So we're going to take a break. So Severna Park is a predominantly white area, and to have a lynching memorial marker right here in this white neighborhood speaks volume. And the library wanted to connect with us along with the county executive. And so we're just happy that this has taken place. We're going to be right back with you right after they finish singing. 2 minutes, 2 seconds, the living room. I'm about to come in from my break. Oh, I'm live. Okay. All right, we're back from our little break here. We just had a dynamic program for the lynching memorial marker that's being dedicated here. Again, this is the living room where real conversations takes place. You just heard a huge conversation about lynching right here in Anne Arundel County, with 5 recorded, but there were several here in Maryland. And like Drake said, we thought that it was only taking place in the Deep South, but no, right here in the state of Maryland and all over the United States, of course. Now we have our selected group that's here. The wonderful Good Trouble Maryland is here with us, with our county executive and my mentor for activism, the, the convener of the Caucus of African American Leaders, Carl O. Snowden. I have Ms. Monica, she's back, connecting the dots. So, and Emma, who facilitated and did an incredible job. And so right here in the living room, you're about to see the unveiling of the lynching memorial right here at Severna Park Library. This is the first time. This is historic. And I'm going to turn it over to Monica. Come on, Monica.
Thank you so much. And why, let's unveil this.
There it is.
Who wants to?
You do it.
You do it. You do it.
All right.
How about Skip?
Yeah, Skip.
Yeah, let's all do it. Come on, everybody, put your hands.
All right, we're grabbing it. You see that? We're unveiling. There it is. All right. The lynching in Anne Arundel County. And we got a good picture of it there. We have our camera crew here. This is a historic event, and it's taking place right here in the living room where real conversations take place. We're hoping that what's happening right here in our county will sweep through our country. I believe that a revolution is taking place, a revolution for good. That's why we have these wonderful young students that have on Good Trouble right here in Maryland. And we're going to get into good trouble, like John Lewis would say, all over the United States until we see racism eradicated. Thank you so much for watching The Living Room, where real conversations take place. It's your boy, your bishop, always. God bless you, and we love you. We'll see you next week when we have Tunnel Vision and Chasing Your Dreams initiative on The Living Room. Godspeed. All right.